Hi, everybody. Welcome to Stop Being Sold, a community of informed consumers who are sick and tired of being sold financial products they don't understand or need. So if you're tired of being a transaction, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and also the notification bell so you don't miss another video from us. And while you're at it, go ahead and give us that thumbs up sign, that like button, hit that so we can grow our channel. And also we know you're liking the content of our videos. How are you today, Brian?
Hey, doing great, Michelle. How about yourself?
Doing good. So today's topic, we're talking about fiduciary versus suitability advisors. Why people need to understand the difference and what it means working with each type. So before we dive in, one thing, we did a video on why it's critical to your financial future to work with a fiduciary advisor. So we'll put that's above here, and that's also below in the link description. We do advise you to check that out after you're done watching this one. All right, Brian. So let's dive in. What do we need to know, and why is it important to know the difference? And we'll go from there.
Yeah, Michelle, this is a great topic, and stay tuned to the end because you want to really understand the difference between the two. And because if you're looking for an investment advisor to manage your money today, it's truly important to understand the difference between those advisors who are held to a fiduciary standard of operating their business versus those who are only held to a suitability standard. There's a massive difference. And you've probably heard these terms being thrown around. We're starting to hear fiduciary a lot now in the news and in the media. People
commercials.
are looking for it. Yeah, commercials too. You're exactly right. I heard one just 2 nights ago. So, but today though, Michelle, we're going to cover the differences and why it's important to you. And like Michelle said, make sure you click that link to check out that other video that we did on this that goes into much, much greater detail about fiduciary. So, and let me start to hear, Michelle. This is broke down into, investment advice is broken down into 2 operating standards, okay? 2 main standards that your advisor will operate, one or the other. One's a fiduciary standard. The second is a suitability standard. And, or sometimes you might hear the word, they operate under suitability rules, depending on if they're just state licensed too. So you understand that. So,
okay.
Here's one thing, Michelle, you probably didn't know this, but anyone can call themselves a financial advisor today. It's a pretty loose term that gets thrown around out there. Think about this. If, for example, let's say I went and took my life insurance license and passed that exam tomorrow. Okay, I already am life insurance licensed, but let's just say I did. I could pass my license and come out and say, hey, I'm a financial advisor. And there's no rules telling them that you can't say that. So it's a pretty loose term. But here's the scenario. If they charge for investment advice, they're legally required to follow one of these 2 standards, the fiduciary standard or the suitability standard. And today we're going to define each one of them. And hopefully by the end of this, you understand what type of advisor you're currently working with. And, or if you're searching for an advisor, this may help you choose the right one that fits your needs best. So,
okay, so let's dive in and let's start with fiduciary.
Okay.
What is the definition of the fiduciary standard?
Okay, so fiduciary standard is an investment advisor that operates under the fiduciary standard, must put their client's interest first above their own, and adhere to the Investment Advisor Act of 1940. Okay.
So it's legally, they're legally bound to put the client's interest first. And if not, they're subject to, I mean, they're liable and could be sued, correct?
Yeah, massive. I mean, so you're by law, it's a legal binding contract that you sign to work with a fiduciary. When I sign up new clients, this is what they have to sign. So, and let's go into some of the greater detail of a fiduciary advisor. This is what one looks like. Okay. It can be, number one, it can be an individual or an investment advisor firm. They're called RIAs, and they work directly for the client. Remember that, directly for the client. Second, like you just said, Michelle, they're required by law to put the client's interest ahead of their own and their firm's interest.
So client first.
Client first. Client first. That's the best thing to say. They're regulated by the SEC, and that's the Securities and Exchange Commission, or a state regulators, depending on the amount of assets that they actually manage. The smaller firms are usually state registered up to either 100 or 125 million in assets. Then they're automatically transferred under SEC rule, which is a lot more scrutiny. Actually, both of them scrutinize your practice about the same, but there's probably more guidelines at the SEC. The bigger you get, the more regulations you're going to have. So,
okay. All right.
And then we've talked about this even today, talking about legally binding contract. Okay. The fiduciaries must find a form ADV, which details how they're paid, how they invest, any disciplinary actions against them, and any conflicts of interest they may have. You're going to sign that to work with a fiduciary advisor. Because remember, we kept saying legally binding contract you will sign to work with a fiduciary. And their loyalty, Michelle, is to the client first and foremost. That's a fiduciary.
And so just talking about that form ADV, they have to fill it out and file it. But also, like, as you're working with them years later, it doesn't matter what you're looking for, what you want your money to do for you. You're having conversations with them. They have to disclose no matter what.
Yes.
What if there's conflicts of interest, and then also, like, look, here's my research. I've completed my research. Here are the 5 things we can do with this,
right.
And then also disclose how they're paid on that.
Right. And what's nice with the Form ADV, Michelle, they're filed. Okay, so they have to, if you're looking up an advisor, like, you'll be able to, like, on their website, they may have in their disclosures, Form ADV. You click on it, it opens up into a PDF document, and it tells you everything about that advisor and the advisory firm that they work with. So.
Got it. Okay, good to know. All right, so is that all with fiduciary, and can we move on to suitability standard?
Yeah, let's go over suitability next, because there is a huge difference. I think we explained fiduciary pretty well. So an advisor that works under the suitability standard does not operate as a fiduciary, or by law doesn't have to adhere to the fiduciary standard. Okay. They're only required, Michelle, is to give advice that is suitable for the client based on their financial needs or objectives. Okay. Suitability is such another loose term that there's a huge difference between that and best interest. It just bugs me seeing that you only have to be suitable.
So let's just real quick break that down. So if someone's looking to roll over a 401k, we went over this in detail in that last video on why it's critical to work with a fiduciary, but let's just bring it up here. So I'm wanting to roll over 401k. Someone who's following this, an advisor who's following the suitability standard says, okay, well, look, I found like this IRA for you. It's suitable. It makes sense. Or I found this, whatever it is, makes sense for you. Working with a fiduciary, they have to disclose all of their research. And it may even mean that keeping your 401k where it is
in your best interest.
Is in your best interest. So it's about really not just finding a suitable product based on what you want, but really what's in your best interest. And that's the big distinction.
Yeah, and some of the breakdown of a suitability advisor, that was the 30,000-foot view,
right?
But explains it best. It truly does. But here's some of the stuff they're not legally bound to do. Okay, so they're usually brokers, Michelle, or a registered rep of that broker dealer, of a broker dealer. So that helps you determine what type of license they have. They're only required to make recommendations that are suitable based on your personal situation. Could be like you just said with the 401k. They're not required to sell products that are in the client's best interest. It kind of makes you cringe thinking about that? They're not required to disclose a conflict of interest. Okay. They're regulated by FINRA, or could be the state insurance regulators if they're insurance agents only. And their loyalty is to their company or to the broker, first and foremost, not the consumer.
And so real quick, when you said they're not required, they're not required to sell products that aren't in the client's interest. And that is because they're paid commission.
Right.
Typically, right?
Yeah, there's a huge difference as far as a fiduciary advisor either charges a flat fee or a percentage of the assets and have to disclose that up front, where these guys under the suitability rule, Michelle, they could be paid a pretty high commission and not required to even disclose that to you.
Okay. Got it.
So that's a huge conflict of interest in itself. So
well, it's a big distinction between the two standards.
I think just in this simple explanation, you can see the difference between a fiduciary advisor and a suitable advisor.
Sure. All right. So yeah, and how someone manages your money can have a huge impact on how much money you end up with later in life. So
yes, definitely.
Thank you for breaking all this down. And like we've said before, we did do a video. It's really important that you watch it. If you're searching for a financial advisor right now, or you have one, just either way, just look at that video. Why working with a fiduciary is critical to your financial future. It's a longer video, but it's worth the watch for sure.
Yeah, the link's right below this video. So.
Okay. And thank you so much, Brian, for breaking this down. Thank you to everyone who's watched this far to the very end. If you did like the video content, please hit that like button. We'd appreciate it. It helps us grow the channel. Also, if you do have any questions about fiduciaries or the Fiduciary Standard, Suitability Standard, or just really any kind of question about financial anything, leave it below this video. We'd appreciate it. As we build out our video content, we are taking, we are responding to some of the comments we get. So
yes, we are.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right.
And we're
Thanks
learning
everybody for watching. Thank you so much.